injuring things. And obviously in recent times we've seen Maddison, we've seen Deke, we've seen bergvall obviously miss out in the final. As a player, how do you kind of get over that sort of thing?
Well, you have to get over it because you're not individual. You know, I'm sure when they reflect, when they retire, they'll go, that was a big disappointment they were involved. I know they all had the kit on at the end, didn't they? So I think it's changed a lot since our time because there was myself, Bale, there was a lot of us injured. We didn't go up the steps and pick our medal up. We did get one, but we didn't. So yeah, they'll be hugely disappointed because you don't feel the same part of it, of winning it, albeit I'd played in every round building up to it. But you still go, if I was playing, I'd still want my teammates because we've been in this tournament together as a group and we've fought from setbacks and we've all been part of it, but missing out on the final was a big disappointment. I'm sure the guys feel that as well. They realise they weren't part of it, but they enjoyed themselves as well, and rightly so. When I see success in any football club, I always say enjoy it, because the highs and lows you have, enjoy the highs, because the lows are low and you have to suffer those.
I think that's the thing, because like you said, obviously seeing us win that in 2008, then wait 17 years to win another trophy, you can kind of see what it's brought for all of us.
Yeah, we should have parted a bit more, because 12 months later against Manchester United, I played in that when we lost on penalties. We've obviously had the 2015 when we got beat to Chelsea, and then the Champions League, and then Manchester City. So I feel your pain, I really, really do. But I also say it's hard to win something. It really, really is hard to win a league, a trophy, whatever it may be. So I'm just so delighted for you guys and the club that we've managed to get over the line and get that off our back for 17 years and shut up so many people. I really am delighted.
And obviously we talk about the highs with 2008, and then obviously the next season didn't really go as of planned. We obviously talk about that final that we kind of lost in as well. How do you as players then kick on? Because obviously we'll talk about the season after that, there was like a resurgence. But how do you kick on from winning something to then plummeting?
Good question. I don't think there was... When one day came in and he was... We all love Martin Yo. And one day came in and it was a little bit different. He had his Spanish culture. He said as a group we were 100 kg overweight. As a group, not just me. So that was a challenge. He took little things away. And what you have to realise is players are like kids. Honestly, I've got a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old. I think they be better than footballers at times. It is. You've got to have a balance of going, right, where's the happiness? And he just took everything away. We were living in a hotel 24/7. We're in Europe. It just felt like draining. And I'm not trying to defend the players, because ultimately the players get you the sack. That's it. But it was different culture, different way of life, playing from England to Spain. And he has to adapt. And unfortunately, one day he didn't adapt. And ultimately, he won the trophy. But 2 points from 8 games in the next season was unacceptable from ourselves and from one day, and he got the sack. And you know, as I've said before, players have to take responsibility when managers get the sack, because managers pick the team, but the players get you the sack.
That's the thing, you want to leave everything on the pitch as a player. But obviously the season after was a massive resurgence, wasn't it?
There was, because Harry came in. Harry, through my career, was probably the best manager I worked with, not tactically, but his man management. Because under one day the door was wide open and I was nearly out of it. I had no confidence, I had no self-belief. I wasn't the same player as what I was when I first came through the door at 2005. And Harry got me back within the blink of an eye of being in an England World Cup squad. Playing full of confidence, playing with the freedom. And it just brought success. It really, really did. And people say, what success, albeit if I hadn't slipped in a semi-final of FA Cup, we might have got to a final. Fine margins, it's low points in your career that still haunt me. And we all know in this game it's all about winning. You guys know that. You know, we got to the Champions League, great achievement, but it wasn't winning anything. I had some incredible nights, beating AC Milan, going to the Bernabeu, getting beat 4-0, hard nights, but moments that you pinch yourself when you retire and go, they were special nights. But the only nights you really remember, and you guys remember, is winning something. and that was my only probably thing with Harry, that we didn't win a trophy. But we did have success. We got to a Champions League. But what is success? We all see that in different ways.
I think that's the thing, because obviously to see the season before, to then come and see Champions League football, see Harry, and to see the players on that kind of new lease of life. And like you said, but we don't really remember it that much because we didn't win anything.
I mean, we speak about that moment in a group of players when you think, you look at Bale, Modric, Van der Vaart, Keane, Berbatov, Defoe, Crouchy, Dawson. Don't laugh. Ledley King. I mean, we had a phenomenal group of players. We had Lennon, we had Huddleston, Zakora. And then you go fast forward and you bring Danny Rose into the equation, you bring Kyle Walker, arguably the best pairing fullbacks in the world. You know, so we had a group there that was phenomenal. But you know, as I've said, it's all about winning. But I had memories then of under Harry that were special memories, because he brought an attacking way of football, a belief that when we go out and go to the Etihad that we would get into the Champions League. We had some run to get to where we got to, and it was a great team, and I look back and special memories to say I captained that team as well.
Because I'm now going to say to you, out of all of those memories, is there something that maybe us in the room don't really have a light on? Maybe is it something said in the dressing room? Was it something that we don't really see because it was behind closed doors?
Getting out the San Siro alive. With Gattuso, I mean, that's a tunnel that you don't want to get stuck in, by the way. You need some heavyweights, let me tell you that. Yeah, and there were some big boys down there. It went off that night. That wasn't. I'm glad we had Sandro. I'm glad we had Bass. We had some guys who could fight our way through, because we had Gattuso. Joe Jordan got headbutted and then missed the second leg. It was bizarre. It was an experience, and European football is an experience. You've got to manage your way through it. Harry getting soaked, things he used to say, escaping to Ireland on a Christmas party when you shouldn't do it. I've told you, footballers are like kids, you know. We just don't listen. But, I mean, characters, we had them in abundance. We had young players, we had senior players, and then we had Robbie Keane. But great guys that I look up to, people I can call friends, even still. And if you can say that at the end of your career, that means an awful lot.
Is there anyone that you still speak to day to day? I know that you're still very close friends with King, but is there anybody else that you kind of still...
Yeah, I mean, when you leave, your paths go different ways. You sort of concentrate on your own career, and you then become rivals. But someone who's come really close to me now is Danny Rose. We both live back up in Yorkshire. We play paddle tennis every week. You know, I'm sort of sad that he still isn't playing, because for me, as I've said, him and Kyle Walker, when I went into the media and I got a lot of stick, I look to the Poch era and go, they were the best pairing in the world. In the world. I don't think anyone can be a better pairing. Not individually, as a pairing. They were phenomenal under Poch. So I still see him, Aaron Lennon, Tom Huddleston, obviously Robbie, that we still speak to. But yeah, it's Ledley I'm always with anyway. JD, our paths cross. Sandro, you meet up again. Gomez. We had a group that were real teammates, on and off the field as well, and we did things that probably we wouldn't have got away with in this day and age with cameras and what have you, but we enjoyed ourselves. And I tell you what, it was a phenomenal team, and you as fans, you could watch that with Van der Vaart, Edgar Davids. I mean, I remember Edgar Davids walking in the dressing room thinking, wow, he was on the Nike advert. I mean, I put his spectacles on and got caught with them on. They didn't go down too well, but yeah, we had some characters, different kind of characters, but certainly a top team.
I was going to say, on a side note, obviously, say you play paddle with Danny Rose. The real question is, who's the real winner? Who wins week in, week out?
Do you know what? I've just gone on Danny's team, and he's still as quick around the court, I'm telling you. I'm way better than Danny at paddle, but I'll tell you what, he's got the speed. So no one fancies taking us on now up in Yorkshire. So if you've got any challenges, let me know. We don't travel long. We're at home always.
No, it's nice to see that you're still, like you say, you've played so many years with these players. It's nice that you still keep in contact with them. But obviously, going back to that season, you also won Player of the Year. Obviously, that's a massive, proud moment. So what do you make of that? Well,
I mean, to be on that board with the likes of, you go back to Ginola, Sheringham, Klinsmann, Bale, Modric, Keane, Defoe, Son, Harry Kane. and Dawson's on there. He's a proud. Yeah, I feel very proud. I really, really do. I joke about it. But in 2010, that was arguably my best season in my career, not just at Spurs. And then I got the recognition and went to a World Cup, albeit I didn't play. As I said, under one day, probably 18 months before that, the door was wide open. And I just couldn't see a way back. But that's why I probably speak about Harry being the best manager and having shown the belief in me to get back to the levels that I could play at.
And it's evident as well, so like you say, you had that England call up, etc., etc. How does that feel as well, being called up to play for your nation?
Yeah, I mean, that means you're getting recognition from outside the club. You know, and I had to wait a long, long time for my first cap, by the way. And I remember we were playing under Steve McLaren. We were at Old Trafford and we were 6-0 up against Jamaica. I think Crouchy might have got 4 or 5 in that game. And I'm thinking, right, this is it. I'm going to come on. Steve McLaren has to put me on. Guess what? He put Jamie Carragher on. I thought, oh, shit. I went back upstairs to my mum and dad were there and my wife were there and I was like, Dad, I ain't ever going to get an England cap. I'm not being funny. We were 6-0 up against Jamaica and I still didn't get brought on. I'm thinking, I give up. But I kept going and eventually I ended up getting my first cap coming on under Capello, and I'd been to a World Cup before then. I only got 4. It would have been nice to get a few more, but very proud of those 4 caps. I was in an awful lot of squads, but thankfully I got 4, and I wasn't a 1 cap wonder. That's all I can say.
We'll take that. But obviously as well, I know you've mentioned players that you've played with before, or played with, sorry. Is there one player that you still sit here and go, wow, how was that? Bale. I remember Gaz coming in, and obviously I watched the Championship, still watch it, still realise where I came from. And I remember my dad going to Hull City when my oldest brother was playing there, and he watched Gaz Bale as probably a 16, 17-year-old, put this free kick in the top corner, and I phoned my dad and he went, honestly, this kid, best player on the pitch. I'm thinking, left backs can't be a best player on the pitch. My brother was a left back. He can't be the best player on the pitch, no chance. Well, Bale just went from strength to strength. And he found it hard when he came to us, but his left foot was an absolute wand. I sat next to him, he was pretty quiet, reserved, kept himself to himself, you know, and thankfully he got the opportunity. When Benoit should have been going to the African Cup of Nations, he'd had a hip operation, and he was just mind-blowing, honestly. And people say, what about Luca? What about Rafa? What about Robbie? Gaz was playing like he was playing in the playground, honestly. Some of the goals he scored, I think it was 12-13 season, phenomenal, honestly. If you saw him in grassroots football on Sunday morning, you're thinking, this guy's 18 playing in under 12s game. He was unbelievable the way he ran around players, goals he scored, his delivery, his athleticism, his fitness. He just kept going from minute 1 to minute 90 in the goals, and to see what he went on to achieve, incredible. What a player, love him. I think that's the thing as well, because obviously at times you would see him carry the team with his goals, with his assists, and I think that's the really thing for me, because I was one of these. I had a poster of Bale in my room, and yeah, for you to say that as well. And I know you mentioned Modric, because Modric has gone on to have an amazing career as well.
Yeah, for longevity, Luca's been a phenomenal player. Great kid, really bought into the English way of life, not speaking the language when he first came, but we loved him. And that was hard for him when he first came as well, because you think he's going to be able to deal with the Premier League. I remember going away to Bolton, struggled in the game, but wow, he's gone on to have an incredible career. And people will say about him, people say about Moussa Dembele, but Gaz, for shortevity, but he was with Ronaldo and Messi. Not for being biased, because I know him and played with him. He just didn't do it longevity, because his body probably couldn't stand up to playing the way he played. He played 100 mile an hour every time he got the ball, but defenders were petrified of him. I mean, the night against Inter Milan, taxi for Maicon, it's like ridiculous. He must have been having nightmares going, this little shit here, he's just finished my career. Phenomenal. But I believe that put Gaz on the worldwide stage. And that was the night that I went, Real Madrid took note.
And that's the thing, because I was devastated when he left. But like you said, he was like Roadrunner, could run for days. But that's the thing as well, because obviously we've spoken about players that you have played with that you've gone, wow? There was one player that said you were England's finest defender, and that was Carlos Tevez. What does it mean when someone comes across and says that about you?
Yeah, nice. To get applauded from rival players, it means a lot. Didn't get too many of them, but for someone like Carlos Tevez, it must have meant, I don't know if he'd had a good game against me, he just felt sorry for me, I don't know. I tried to kick every player I played against. I tried to be better than my opponents, tried to come out on top, and obviously that night I did when I played against him. Yeah, it was nice because people still speak about that and give you the recognition that you were a good player and you could play, and he was a special talent as well, by the way.
Definitely, and that's the thing, because obviously he played against you, but when you were saying that you were played against other people, is there someone, maybe not that played for Spurs, but you would come up against and be like, wow?
Every week. No, there was different kinds of players. I mean, we can put JD into this bracket. JD was 2'4", but he'd fly past you, he'd score goals, he'd annoy you, he'd be a pain in the ass. And then he'd come up against the Kevin Davies, where I was like, oh my gosh. Whenever he came to our outlet, we always used to batter Bolton. But whenever we went to the Reebok, they always used to beat us. Because he'd get a free kick, they'd put the ball in the box and he'd head it. It was a nightmare to play against. You can put Ronaldo, Aguero. Addy was always a nightmare at Arsenal. But the one that really stands out to me has to be Didier Drogba. I mean, it pains me to say Chelsea, you look at the team that they had, you go from Petr Cech to JT to Lampard, Essien, Makelele, and then Didier up top. He was an absolute handful. He really, really was. He had all the attributes. He could sprint, he could shoot from 25 yards, he could head it, he was 6'4", he was strong. I'm thinking, goodness gracious, this is going to be a hard challenge, isn't it? And he was in a team that was winning. And I think Rooney as well, you put in that bracket. I mean, the list just goes on. I don't believe we've got the same strike force now in the Premier League as what we had back then. You can put Van Persie into that bracket. There's numerous, and that's a challenge for you. Each table keep thinking up of a striker, because I always do this. But probably Didier Drogba was the hardest.